Elijah, we're so sorry for your loss. Your mother sounds like she was a beloved member of the community.
Yeah, good morning. She really was a beloved member. She did so much for our community and so much for us children. So it's
And
really
so
tough.
she was only 42 years old. What were her symptoms, and when did you figure out that she had coronavirus?
So her first symptoms were on March 2nd, the night of March 2nd. She was really weak. She was having trouble breathing. She had really bad migraines, and yeah, and that was when we first found out. That was when we first decided to go take her to the hospital. Was on the morning of March 3rd.
Yeah. One of the cruel ironies of this story is that your mother had just beaten breast cancer. She had stage 3
Right.
breast cancer, and then in January, she had had surgery, she'd had chemo, she'd had radiation, and she'd been declared cancer-free. And I can only imagine how relieved you all were then. And so when you got the diagnosis of coronavirus, that I can only imagine that added to all of your anxiety.
Right. Right. It was tough. She just got over it, over the cancer in January, and we're just starting to, feel whole again. She just, it was a tough battle, and, she was starting to get better and everything. And then after this happened, it was just like tragic.
Yes, it is. It is horribly heartbreaking what you all have endured. And so tell us about what that experience was like when she was in the hospital. We've talked to so many family members who aren't able to be in there with their loved ones because the hospital is trying to protect the family from becoming infected. And so what was it like there in the hospital when your mom was so sick?
Right. So, the first time I took her to the hospital, I got to go back there with her, and she only stayed there for like 4 or 5 hours the first time. So I took her there, and it was hard, being there with her, knowing like that the virus is spreading around, and it's really big in our city. So I got to go with her back in the room for the first time. She was at the hospital, and it was kind of weird because like everybody that came in, we were in like a air sealed room, and everybody that came in was wearing like full protective gear and everything. So, it was kind of scary. It was really scary. Like the doctors and stuff. I was wearing a face mask. They were wearing full protective gear, and they like didn't even really want to touch my mom. So it was kind of hard.
It sounds really hard. And then Elijah, what happened on that last day, in the final moments before she passed? I know that you were outside of a glass window, and I guess the hospital had an idea of how you could still communicate or try to talk to her. And so what did you end up doing?
Yeah, so it was pretty cool of them to let us go back there, even though like all the stuff that's going on, they're really cautious of not wanting the virus to spread. So what me and my siblings got to do was go back to her room, and we got to stand outside. And what they did was they took a walkie-talkie, and they placed the walkie-talkie right by her bedside on the pillow, and we got to say our final words and goodbyes to our mom.
What were you able to say to her?
I was able to tell her I loved her. It's kind of hard. You like in the moment you really don't know what you're gonna say. It's like it's your last words, and it's hard to think of what you really want to say. It's a moment that nobody really ever wants to be in. So I told her I loved her. I told her everything's gonna be all right with the kids. Like us older siblings, we're gonna make sure everything's okay with them, and that they're gonna grow up to be some adults that my mom would want them to be.
Elijah, that's really touching of you, and it's really strong of you to be able to promise your mom that. But what is going to happen to your younger siblings? There are 6 of you, and you're all between
Right.
ages of 13 and 24. You're 20 years old. How are you going to take care of the younger kids? How will you financially support the family?
We have a GoFundMe set up, and we've got so much love and support from the community. That's really going to help. We're actually looking to stay together. So my older brother, he's 24, and what he's going to do is he's going to take custody of the younger children's. They're aged 15, 14, and 13 years old. We plan on staying together and all getting a house together, and just sticking together through this, and you know all fighting this together.